For the most part, they use the same weapon systems we use. American and NATO forces say they're some of the most versatile fighters they've ever encountered. Masters of guerrilla warfare and ambush tactics, they've rarely lost an engagement. Even when they're outnumbered and outgunned, they've been known to completely destroy American forces. They're here in Europe, and they're still giving our troops a run for their money. From a distance, you'd never know it, but you're looking at American forces. To be precise, this is Charlie Company of the 1st Battalion, 4th Infantry Regiment Opposing Force, or OP-4, based out of Hohenfels, Germany, U.S. Army Europe's official bad guys. Today, Charlie Company is in the Bavarian Alps, waiting for an American unit training up for an Operation Enduring Freedom deployment to Afghanistan.
Dressed up like an Al-Qaeda soldier up in the Alps and on the border of Germany and Austria, waiting for CTAF to come so we can give them a good training.
This is who Charlie Company is waiting for. Elements of CTAF, the Southern European Task Force out of Vicenza, Italy, have been brought into this area to prepare for their upcoming mission. Exercise officials say minus the trees, this rugged mountainous terrain is very similar to the environment they'll face in Afghanistan. Today, CTAF has to deal with the elements and a dangerous enemy force. It's CTAF's job to make sure they're ready for the terrain. OP-4 will make sure they're ready for hostile forces downrange, a job they don't take lightly.
Every Blue 4 unit that comes and goes against USAR's opposing forces, the OP-4 takes great honor and pride knowing that we're training America's best to go downrange and defend our country.
What is it that you guys are trying to give the CTAF troops?
Trying to give them the hardest fight possible. So when they get to Afghanistan, it'll be, I guess not easy, but it won't be as difficult. Give them things to think about so they'll be more prepared when they go downrange.
CTAF works their way to Charlie Company, choppering troops to the mountaintop and snaking their way through the long, winding mountain paths.
There they go, they're coming over the ridge,
One thing about OP-4 soldiers is that they're probably about the most flexible soldiers in the Army. They have to go.
Charlie Company's commander says his troops are geared for this kind of fight. By design, the OP-4 trains to be the most dangerous enemy a visiting unit will ever encounter.
What I hope they walk away with is that they're prepared to do their mission downrange. That they've faced, and in facing my soldiers, that they faced the most lethal and professional enemy that they can hopefully face, the most dangerous to them. We try to present them with all the different scenarios they may possibly face downrange. We try to present them with things they may not face downrange, just to make them think about different things that could possibly happen for them, prepare them to go against, against an enemy that's looking to kill them.
1-4 Infantry is completely capable of taking teams on the road. However, most of the training they provide visiting units is done here, the Combat Maneuver Training Center in Hohenfels, Germany, where 1-4 is headquartered. If there's a word that would best describe the OP-4, it would have to be adaptability. The battalion can train to just about any standard, whether it's heavy armor on armor, light infantry, or just being an unruly, difficult-to-control mob.
Everything that we do is based upon what the visiting unit needs to accomplish. As the OP-4, the visiting unit is always called the Blue 4. The Blue 4 unit is what we focus on, and their training task is what's essential. We look at what Blue 4 wants to accomplish, and then we adjust our mission and how we conduct ourselves in order to ensure the Blue 4 meets their training objectives.
This 39,000-acre plot is OP-4's territory. They know this land like most homeowners know their own backyard. Beating OP-4 on their own turf is extremely difficult, so much so that 1-4 troops have to be careful not to completely slaughter a Blue 4 unit. Nervous soldiers training in Hohenfels know that OP-4 can be lurking around the next corner.
We can be so uncooperative and so disruptive that if we choose to, then Blue 4 may not accomplish any of their training objectives. And if we do that, then we're not doing what the Army has asked us to do. And this is about preparing others to go into a combat environment and succeed. And we'll give them a good fight. Hopefully the hardest fight they'll ever have is here. But you don't want to make it so painful that it's impossible for them to get better.
Randy Copeland, the commander of that great unit, is speaking like a true OPFOR commander. He loves his soldiers and he wants to kick the crap out of people when they come through the training centers. But he also knows
Brigadier General Mark Hertling is the commander of the 7th Army Training Command. His goal for the OPFOR is simple: make sure they give visiting Blue 4 units the best possible training available.
Randy and Sergeant Major Pickett, his command sergeant major, two great individuals, and they know their sole purpose in life is to show folks what they're going to face on the battlefield. And they know how to deal the training card to them so that they can adjust so that the rotational unit gets the best lessons learned out of it. They're still competitive because they're great soldiers, but they also know that their main purpose in life is to give the rotational units the best look at a potential enemy.
Well, is the OPFOR more adaptable than other units because they get to see both sides of the coin?
I think there's an element of truth in that. Not only that, but because of some of the environment that we're now facing, we have to supplement the OPFOR. You know, that's a pretty big force. It's a battalion of infantry soldiers, but for every rotation we have, we hire an additional 100 to 400 civilians on the battlefield, role players, folks that play the media, that play non-governmental organizations. So I think the fact that the OPFOR, unlike many units, they're training every day and they're working with the asymmetric aspects of the battlefield. They're seeing a lot more than the normal unit sees in terms of how rotational designs and scenarios are made. They seem to be a little bit better at their warfighting skills because they get to practice them all the time. And that's exactly what we want in an OPFOR.
The OPFOR spends a lot of time training visiting units in sites just like this. This is a mock village set up at the Combat Maneuver Training Center in Hohenfels that allows soldiers to practice the art of moving and fighting in urban terrain. 1-4 Infantry has been training a steady stream of units preparing to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan. But the OPFOR themselves have not deployed since 1943. That changed last September. That's when Alpha Company of the 1-4 was told to pack up and turn in their training ammunition. Now they carry live ammo as they support ISAF, the International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan.
And they live in fear. What we're doing here is give them somewhat of a protected feeling.
The blanket of protection provided by Alpha Company comes in the way of security patrols around the Kabul province.
Can you get the Malik's name?
In small villages outside Kabul, Alpha Company talks to the locals. They ask if they've seen anything out of the ordinary. They talk to the village elders and listen to their concerns. Years of conflict in this region means the land is littered with unexploded ordnance. This man explains how a rocket landed here but didn't explode. He says it's still here buried in the dirt. Not everyone is comfortable with the American presence. Memories of the Taliban are still fresh, and trust is hard to gain in this land.
Come down here and looking at all these kids. They're happy to see us.
The OPFOR troops here believe the key to success will be through the children.
The kids seem to love us. We hand out pencils, school supplies, stuff like that. Sometimes we throw them candy, even though we're not supposed to. But most of the young people really, really like us.
These people have seen wars that we could only imagine, and you're not going to change them. But I think through the kids, and we can show them that, yes, you can rebuild, you can, there is a better way of life. And as they grow
Many of the 1-4 troops say they'll return to Germany knowing that they've made a difference and with a better appreciation for what they have.
Young kids, same age as my son, that are out selling watches to make a living or selling fruit, pushing a cart down a busy street. It amazes me at how much we take for granted.
They are extremely good. I've been dealing with opposing forces all my life, both on the receiving end and hopefully on the scenario design end when I was the commander of ops group at the National Training Center and then here. And I'll tell you, the 1-4 Infantry are some of the most relevant, efficient and effective fighters that I've seen wearing an OPFOR uniform.
I enjoy the OPFOR. I enjoy being able to train the troops heading over to Afghanistan or wherever else they might be going. Gives them a better advantage to where they're going, and gives me an opportunity to see the other side.
We've seen it on both sides. We've been the opposing force, and we've also been the blue force. So we've done it both ways, and we tend to know how someone's going to react before we even get into that situation.
When I was in PLDC, a lot of the guys who had come through Hohenfels, they said they hate coming here because they always lose, but they always take something away.
We're really giving the folks who rotate through here the best look at a potential enemy because of the quality of 1-4 infantry, our OPFOR. They are very good.
For the Pentagon Channel, I'm USAREUR's Robert Buchwald.